Are here today to do this webinar with these lovely people that I voted. We're the Music Managers Forum, and we're really happy that we're able to put a spotlight on their hard work and efforts and long-term fans of what they do. The MMF is the leading trade association for professional artist managers and self-managed artists in the US. We have some core foundations upon which we focus our efforts. Advocacy is one of them, so this plays really well into this. Education is also vitally important, which quite honestly, this is part of as well. You have to be educated and you have to do your research and be aware of the political climate and being able to advocate for the rights of creatives at large. It's a never-ending battle. So this is certainly plays into that. And then our ability to network and coalesce as a community is really important. And we have, over the last few months, started, now that God willing, we're through these pandemic times, and I pray I haven't just jinxed us. We're starting to do community meetups. We're announcing our LA meetup that's going to be happening in a couple of weeks. We're doing another one in LA, Chicago. So they're always happening on a regular basis. Most of our activities are free. Webinars are free. Our meetups are free. Our summits are free. We did 3 summits earlier this year. We did one in LA and in Nashville and Atlanta. We've got 4 more happening this fall. So keep your eyes open for that. They'll be happening in New York, Chicago, Miami, and Austin. So those will be forthcoming shortly. So let's move on here. I'm so happy to be able to have Emily White, who is a long-term friend. She is CEO of and one of the founders of this incredible organization. We also have Melissa Garcia, who's the CMO, and Lesly Montes, who's the festival director. I have to ask Emily, as the one of the founders of this, what was the impetus for the formation? I mean, this is not your first election cycle. This is, when were you founded?
So I'm originally from Wisconsin, where the 2016 presidential election was decided by 22,000 votes and change. It was decided next door in Michigan that year by 10,000 votes and change. And I'd read that voter turnout was down in my home city of Milwaukee. And I was like, 22,000 is our basketball arena. So why don't we put together a compelling concert and tie in voting? I used to tour manage a long time ago. So I just think and I've learned about so many of these margins since. Like, I think Al Franken was elected to the Senate by 312 votes. I've been hosting an I Voted Festival podcast, and I had someone from 538 tell us about a congressional race that was decided by 6 votes. I mean, there's certainly more than 6 people here. So we started, it was just myself and an intern for the 2018 midterms by activating over 150 venues in 37 states to let fans in on election night who showed a selfie from outside their polling place. And it was really an idea that caught fire. Huge props to, I was up at 4 a.m. today. What is Stacy from Live Nation New York's last name? I feel terrible. But Stacy at Live Nation New York was our first promoter to come on board. And then Amy Corbin at C3 was the second, and Peter Shapiro were the third. If I got one of those people, I would have been able to leverage that across the country. But to get 3 such influential folks allowed us to activate over 150 venues in 37 states, like I said. And at that one, for example, we had Jim James of My Morning Jacket, Playboy Cardi, Maggie Rogers, got a lot of press. The word really spread. So we started for the 2018 midterms. And
so this will be your 4th election cycle, because you've done, the general elections and something in Georgia, right? So you've definitely taken this on an incredible journey.
Thank you. Yeah. So I was planning for a big 2020. We were holding arenas in key states when, of course, the pandemic hit. We pivoted and produced the largest single night digital concert in history. Mandolin as our webcasting platform, super grateful for that. Fans RSVP'd to access our election night webcast with a selfie at home with their blank and unmarked ballot or from outside their polling place. We had over 400 artists participate, like Billie Eilish, Living Color, Fish, the list really went on. And instead of reaching out to talent that we hope people like or think that they'll like, we literally book the top trending artists in key states whose electoral margins are often decided by the size of a concert venue. MIT has since analyzed our work, showing that I Voted Festival increases voter turnout by over 7%, whereas historically the highest get out the vote drives previously have done so by 0.5 to 1%. And again, I really credit that to booking for the data, not just like, let's get Jay-Z or what, like, no offense to Jay-Z, but we're literally booking what people are listening to where. And then we quickly followed up, and huge props to our festival director, Lesly Montes, who really led the charge on this one, and produced I Voted Festival Georgia with the same concept for the January 2021 special election that determined control of the US Senate. And then we've since announced over 400 artists for I Voted Festival 2022 with the same concept. This year we have Run the Jewels, Lake Street Dive, CNCO. And then on Monday, we're announcing, so breaking news, the first I Voted Early sweepstakes, because as I mentioned, we began in venues. I'm not comfortable asking venues to open their doors for the selfie right now because they're still recovering. So we've partnered with ASM Global, Live Nation, AAG, NEVA, essentially every venue in America, who have donated tickets to 700 concerts that fans can enter to win by submitting their selfie. And then that entry also guarantees them access to the webcast. So that's a new layer that we're gonna start rolling out on Monday that we're pretty excited about. So to answer your question, we've done this 18, 20, 21. This will be our 4th.
Wow. And that was another question. Obviously, you created this massive digital festival. Will you be doing in person? So it's great to know that you will be doing both. So that's fantastic. I love that you're constantly evolving and growing and just taking this journey as you are.
Well, quickly to that, because it's certainly appropriate for this group. I mean, Melissa, Leslie, and I are all, I'm actually retired from artist management at this point. I still do a little athlete management, but we're all artist managers at our core. And we all know as managers, like, you have to be an entrepreneur. Like, I remember speaking in a music business class at the beginning of the pandemic, and a student's like, well, what happens when you're a manager and you have this plan and then the whole world shuts down? And I was like, well, what happens when Napster exists and then suddenly, everything shifts to digital? It's like, we've always had to evolve and change no matter what's happening in the music industry. Managers are at the forefront of that. So I think it's a pretty natural tie, if that makes sense.
And Leslie and Melissa, how long have you guys worked together? How do you navigate this alongside Emily?
So I joined the team as the Chief Marketing Officer in 2020, but Emily and I go way back. We probably have worked with each other for maybe close to a decade around there, or maybe more than a decade. I can't remember. So as Emily had mentioned, we're artist managers. And so I am partners with Emily at Collective Entertainment. It's our talent management firm. And so because we've just had a really long history together, when I had the opportunity to join the #IVoted team, I mean, it was a no-brainer.
So I came to I Voted Festival in a very interesting way in 2020. I want to say it was about September when I joined, and the election was coming up. And I had reached out to Kevin Lyman, who is one of our board members, founder of Warped Tour. And he suggested that I reach out to Emily because I really wanted to involve myself in I want to say like any type of foundational nonprofit work. And then by way, I entered the production team and then was elevated to production manager for 2020. And then now I help direct the festival alongside Emily.
So you guys created in 2020 the largest digital concert in history. I mean, logistically, that must have been hard, to say the least. How much of it was live? How much of it was recorded? How do you juggle all of that?
Good question. Most of it was pre-recorded. There were probably about 20 artists that went live. You know, it's really wild to think about. I mean, we pivoted in May 2020, and this year we started reaching out to artists in January. I mean, we already had a few hundred artists booked by the time May rolled around. And I knew that we had, the experience, the connections, the expertise, all that stuff to be able to do it. But I kept saying all summer in 2020, I just don't want this to be the Fire Fest of webcasting. And thankfully it was not, and it was successful. And again, I really want to give, well, obviously a shout out to our team. This C-suite is obviously all women. Lilia Isa is our booking captain. And then we're not funded either. I mean, we're starting to get some grants and figure that out. But we assembled a team in 2020 of over 200 volunteers, mostly music business students. And that group is 92% women, non-binary, BIPOC, or LGBTQ+, which has been a huge lesson for me in representation, right? Like when women and people of color see themselves reflected in leadership, they apply. And I remember Kevin Lyman pointing out too, that we kind of saved a lot of internships for people because so many students had canceled internships in 2020. But again, so the team, I'm just constantly in awe of and keeps me inspired and keeps me going. But also, again, huge shout out to our webcast provider, Mandolin, because they built us this custom festival grid. This year, it looks even better. I'm so excited. Like if it looked like 2020, I would be happy. And now compared to what they're showing us now, the 2020 version looks like 20th century or something. I never took for granted that it worked on the tech side. I'm pitched constantly by webcasting companies wanting, asking us to move iVoted over. And I'm like, I'm not fixing what isn't broken. And no offense to whatever webcasting company this is, I don't know who it was, but when I saw Glastonbury's webcast go down in 2021, I was like, we are never leaving Mandolin. I already wasn't going to fix what isn't broken, but if Glastonbury can't figure it out, then everybody should just go to Mandolin. So it wasn't the Fire Fest of webcast.
So that's a ringing endorsement for them. So that's wonderful. So how does this work? So you take a selfie. Do you want to walk us through what is involved? How do people actually unlock? How does it work? How does iVoted work?
Yeah, definitely. So you take a selfie from outside your polling place or at home with your blank and unmarked ballot. When our RSVP portal goes live at the end of the month, we'll have a few additional things in there. In Arizona, you can't take a selfie within 75 feet of a polling place. So we just say, if you don't know how far that is, walk a block. Texas has a new law this year. It's actually 100 feet. So same thing, walk a block when you're in Texas. But if you're not 18, you can RSVP by letting us know what election you will be 18 for and why you're excited to vote. And side note on that, people who vote in the first, I think it's 2 or 3 elections they're eligible for, statistically become lifelong voters. So that's really huge for us to get young people in the platform as well. And then if you are a non-citizen or ineligible to vote for any reason, you can RSVP by letting us know which artist you're most excited to check out. So iVoted Festival directly increases voter turnout, but is absolutely open and accessible to everyone.
That's wonderful. And you're right. It seems that we're in this time where there are so many new, I don't know, on a very granular state level or even just town level, things seem to be, there seem to be roadblocks. bit, whether it's to register to vote or what it is, where you know, you're obviously in the trenches on this. What are the issues in the voting landscape that we're being faced with at this time?
So on one hand, voter suppression is totally real. You know, like in Pennsylvania, every county has different early voting information that is not available yet, and they have not shared when that will be available. At the same time, you'd be surprised. Like most places do have early voting. I'm surprised when I go through those dates and I'm like, oh, wow, you can start voting in September in some places. I think the big thing we're trying to do is certainly educate. That's a big part of the I Voted Festival podcast I've been hosting. We've been taking listeners through the journey of voting, from registration to researching your ballot to turning out, but also just making it cool and fun and making it a celebration and community oriented. Obviously, we're targeting fans and we're very specific about where these fans are. But something that's been really moving and really mind blowing for me is I've interviewed multiple young artists on the I Voted Festival podcast. One of them said to me, actually, he's not that young. He's like 30, if I had to guess, said, I had never considered voting before until you guys reached out to me in 2020 about performing at this. And I was like in tears, mind blowing. And I talked to a 19-year-old artist from Houston yesterday that's performing, made him register to vote right after the interview. So that's an impact I hadn't considered, is not only getting the fans and the public to turn out and vote, but reminding the artists to do it too. And again, just making it cool and fun and something we can all celebrate.
That's wonderful. And this November, I mean, there's a lot on the line here. There's quite a lot of people up for election, correct?
Yeah, I'll let Melissa take that one.
Yes. Thank you, Emily. So the voting landscape, as you can see in the slide, just to add on to the previous question, since the January 6th insurrection, we have more than 500 voter suppression bills that have been introduced across the nation. And various states are making it more difficult for millions of Americans to vote. And unfortunately, these laws are intended to impact specific demographics. And so that's something that us on our #IVoted team, want to be able to share this kind of information with our artists, our partners, and our sponsors, so that they can also be more informed and share it with their audiences. So for this specific midterm election, all 435 House of Representative seats and 35 Senate seats are up for election. Some of those elections have already passed because of the primaries. There's still runoff elections and things like that are coming up. But altogether, 309 state executive offices across 44 states are up for election, including governor, lieutenant governor, secretary of state, and so on. And the idea that 99% of elected positions are up for election, that those elections are at the state and local level, make it so imperative for people to turn out the vote for midterms. And as we all know, midterm turnout is not as high as the national election turnout. And for our team, it's really our mission to increase voter turnout, not just for the election day, but we also want to be able to encourage early voting, get those votes in as soon as possible.
That is amazing. So obviously we're made up of artist managers, self-managed artists, DIY artists. If anybody's watching this, whether it's live in this webinar setting now or through the YouTube channel, what would your message be to them if they wanted to get involved? How would either as an artist or just as a concerned citizen, like, what are the things that they can do as individuals?
I definitely think that, so I Voted provides this unique opportunity to really champion the importance of voting through what you would call artist performances. It's been very interesting to see because we webcast as live. So often these pre-recorded performances include a song or a set, but it's also a space where these artists tend to have conversations about their political stance. They kind of go into what they're worried about, who they might be voting for. And obviously we're completely nonpartisan. So you get the landscape at a full. When you enter our 400 plus artists, they're talking about, creating awareness, pushing registration, what voter turnout means to them. And they also quite often hold space in social media. So they incentivize their fans to go and take a look at I Voted. So in essence, what we're doing is that we're kind of hitting them on all ends. Not only do they have this option to promote what I Voted does, but indirectly, they're leading their fans to go on our website, to look at our partner pages, like When We All Vote, to get the conversation started on registration. So I find that really fascinating. They're kind of energizing the next generation of voters, in my opinion.
Definitely. And I'll just add, it's probably, so I would actually defer to Melissa and Leslie on this. We are working with amazing organizations as industry partners, if anyone is interested in that. It's getting down to the wire. If you want to join the lineup, content is due September 16th. But if you hear this later, like, we'll be back for 2024, and you can reach out to us at any time. We'll make a note of that, and be in touch with you about that. And then otherwise, just spread the word on our RSVP link. That's going to go live at noon Eastern on September 26th. So if you're checking this out after that, head over to ivotedfestival.org and spread the word. And like I said, you can win some concert tickets along the way. We're also going to have a custom I Voted guitar as part of the I Voted sweepstakes from Gibson. We're going to have 666 cans of liquid death. We might have some other treats in there too that we're working on, involved in spreading the word. So that not only does it increase voter turnout for you to spread the word, but you might get a Zoom with your favorite artist, but we haven't quite finished that yet.
And when we first started talking about this, you mentioned that the percentage of young people that go to shows is like 70%, but the percentage that vote is like 30 or 35. So you're really bridging the gap to encourage people to vote. I mean, yes, you just register, just vote. Doesn't, just as long as you vote and have your voice heard. I mean, that's just incredible to know that you're having this impact.
Thank you. Yeah, huge shout out to Glenn Peoples at Billboard, who pulled up that information on our work. Like you said, 70% of young people attend concerts, but 35% vote. So like you said, we're literally bridging that gap. And then again, booking what people are listening to, and what people are listening to is not always what we are talking about, which is very interesting. Even though we are nonpartisan, just as an example, if you remember right before the 2016 election, and the days before, I know I already mentioned Jay-Z, poor Jay-Z. Hillary Clinton was out with Jay-Z, Beyonce, Bruce Springsteen. I was blown away. I was like, this is amazing. This is so cool. Well, now that we live in this data, and maybe it's different because Beyonce's new album is out and I'm like the biggest Beyonce fan ever, no one's actually listening to those artists where it matters. And actually what people are listening to where is super fascinating. Like when I first downloaded the data, I looked at my home city of Milwaukee. It was all jam bands and rap. And then just an hour away in Madison, Wisconsin, where the University of Wisconsin is, it's like the hippest indie things I've never heard of. It was all really good, but that's what they're listening to at the university. And then just across the lake in Grand Rapids, it was every kind of genre ever except Christian. So Christian emo, Christian rap, Christian rock. I could go on about that. And it's been a huge lesson and reflection on our industry. It's like, I downloaded the data for Pennsylvania this year, and the top trending artist in Pennsylvania's name is K-Suave. K-Suave has, a few million monthly Spotify listeners, 1 million Instagram followers, and 0 industry representation. So I am all for artist development, but again, what we're talking about isn't always what people are listening to. And I've really discovered that's kind of a Venn diagram, which I know that from being a manager, because I've worked with artists that get an absurd amount of press and then can't sell at Mercury Lounge. And then I've also worked with jam bands that can sell out Red Rocks and no one will ever write about. So we kind of know this, but it's interesting to see it and apply it to voter turnout.
Where do you source your, is there a specific place that you source your data from, or because you're talking about different types of data,
Yeah.
and then that Venn diagram, it's like, okay, taking the information and then applying it to a map.
That's right.
If you don't mind me asking.
No, please. And thank you. Chartmetric, huge shout out to Chartmetric. I know as managers, we're pitched on data all the time. And I was really looking for this specific information on what people are working with or listening to where. And it was someone there's like a venue network or something. I don't know. This was in 2019 or 2020 and was like, oh, Chartmetric is what you need. And so we have the data on the top, what people are listening to the most on Spotify. Again, I'm tired. Based on artists from each city, but we bundle it into states. And then the top trending artists on Spotify in those states. So that's why our festival is a mix of like a bunch of artists from Wisconsin, and then like Hailstorm will be headlining the Wisconsin stage because they're really popular in Wisconsin. And then we also have data from Chartmetric on the top trending, the artists on Instagram that fans in these cities are engaging with the most. So it's basically Spotify and Instagram data that we use. Again, huge shout out to Chartmetric. They are fundamental to what we do at I Voted Festival.
That's wonderful. How do you see obviously you're focused on November 8th. That's like, that's your priority. How do you see growth and evolution beyond there?
I do hate to keep
talking. I voted.
But I'll just add, I definitely want to evolve into the metaverse in 2024. Also, I Voted Festival is not limited to music. That's just who we are. So we definitely want to partner with the NBA. Again, this started with a vision of, oh, these elections are decided by the size of arenas. So not only do I want venues opening their doors for the selfie, I want every basketball game in the country. We've had some comedians, but we can expand to comedy. We can have exclusive video messages, from actors and other celebrities. So the I Voted Festival concept is not limited to music. My vision is to activate all entertainment on election day and then tie in as much early voting entertainment as possible. Make it all just driving voter turnout.
That's incredible. How many live stages do you have? Because you just mentioned, that you have this one stage. How many live stages do you have this year?
So we're gonna have 17 stages at the virtual webcast. So we'll have like a Wisconsin stage, and we're talking to different, radio stations in Wisconsin about presenting. We'll have some different branded stages. Leslie, maybe you can go through the stages a little bit.
Yeah, we'll have specific partner stages, and then I want to say between these 17, some of the stages will have trending artists. A couple will be artists who are trending in from those key swing states. In general, how the states are divided really falls into programming that Emily takes care of. But essentially, our stages themselves will be placed on the grid, and you'll see them as live. So these artists will be able to promote the stage that they're on, the specific time that they're on, and that's usually how that works.
Yeah, and we're also going to have, because some of you might know Music Midtown in Georgia, and this was Leslie's idea, unfortunately had their festival canceled over gun laws. They didn't want to allow guns into the park, and Georgia's an open carry state, so they canceled it. So Music Midtown is going to be presenting our Georgia stage in partnership with Well Done, which is a great foundation that I'm on the board of that supports, that provides paid entertainment industry internships to underserved students. We're going to have a Live Nation Women's stage. We'll have a Wasserman by Headcount stage. We'll have a NEVA stage. But then again, they're also, often branded as a state. So like Light, the ticketing company, is one of our sponsors. We're going to have the Light Michigan stage. So yeah, we're really excited. And you can also watch sets as soon as it's over. So then there's no competing sets. And then the festival rebroadcasts for an additional 24 hours after election day for any fans that are voting last minute or stuck in line voting.
Yeah, and that's my other question. Do they only get a limited, you can only go see this, or is it just all you can eat?
It's totally all you can eat. Melissa, do you want to speak to the experience a little bit?
Yeah, sure. It's what I view it as almost a music discovery platform, because you really have all access to all of the artists. And what's really fun is you can scroll through, you can jump in, jump out. What we did in 2020 was a lot of fun. We had a war room for the I Voted team. And what was great was that, you know, one person would be like, hey, I'm going to go watch Citizen Cope. I'll be right back. And another person will say, oh my gosh, this performance is amazing. Come check it out. And we'll all go check it out. And, you know, I think it's one of those things that we don't really mention actually about our partnership with Mandolin, but this is a really amazing music discovery tool. So for any managers out there that are looking for talent and knowing that we are booking trending artists in key states, I mean, this is the time for you to come and check out the amazing acts that are there, because a lot of them are not represented and we're working directly with them.
Yeah, again, I know we see this on the national level, but it's like, because I'm from Wisconsin, I tend to know some of the artists there, and I hate to say it, but like the artists that like are on the Milwaukee Journal's, you know, top 10 Milwaukee artists to watch at South by Southwest actually are pretty low in the data. I think the #1 trending artist from Wisconsin right now is like a Thai pop band, you know? So you're right about music discovery, and it is, yeah. And actually we get questions from artists all the time, like, will you manage us, or how can I find a manager? So yeah, MMF managers show up and start managing some talent. We're all for it.
Let's see how we can bridge that gap. We're delighted to engage on that. So yeah, thank you. Open door. I mean, we're just excited to, I mean, our people who do social media are like stalking you guys.
Yeah.
And whenever you post, we repost, and we just want to do everything we can to work with you, not only for this upcoming election in November, but in an ongoing basis. So, you know, we just want to help however we can.
Sharon, is there any way I could go through some information
Of
about?
course.
Yes, and this is just a way to
course.
empower all of you, educate all of you with what's coming up. And so you can see the voting timeline. Next week is National Disability Voting Rights Week. We have National Black Voter Registration Day. National Voter Registration Day is coming. There's a lot of other things that are coming up. And so for you as managers, if you have artists who are, you know, advocates or activists, you know, get them involved, share them this voting timeline, let them know like, hey, there's all of these things that are happening leading up to the election. So then that way they can empower their fans and get them to turn out and vote. As we had mentioned before, for early voting, we also have on September 26th, I think Emily had mentioned this already, but our RSVP portal where you submit your selfie and our early voting sweepstakes will launch on September 26th. So I'll definitely share that information with you, Sharon, so that you can share it with the rest of the music managers a part of this organization. And then our webcast is on November 8th. So hopefully we'll get to all see you there. And then November 9th, we will be having an industry VIP party, which we would love to extend invitations to all of your members. We are going to be having some guest DJs. We're going to have some Q&As. And it's a really great opportunity for not just people within the industry, but our artists that have been on our lineup to all participate and network with each other. And then a little bit more details about early voting sweepstakes. I know Emily had already mentioned this, but yes, we are working with every venue in America, which is really incredible. And we will be giving away tickets for over 700 shows across the US. We can't mention them yet, but I'm really excited about the concerts that we are working with. Really, really, really excited. So keep an eye out for more information.
If there's an artist that was just rumored to spit on someone, we might have tickets to them.
Rumor? I don't know if it's so much as a rumor as perhaps
He made a joke about it
fact.
at Madison Square Garden.
I know. So that being said, what are some things that you as managers and what your clients can do in order to participate, to take action? First and foremost, register. Check your registration. We are hearing stories of so many people whose voter registration has somehow magically disappeared. And so it's so important to check your registration. I'll be happy to share this deck with Sharon if you want to send it out to your managers. We have a registration portal that we have built from our partners When We All Vote. They focus primarily on voter registration, so you can certainly use our portal. If you are interested, and hopefully all of you are interested in joining our event, sign up for our newsletter for updates. So then that way you will know when our RSVP portal is live, which will be on the 26th. Please take a listen to Emily's amazing podcast. She has been interviewing some incredible people, from artists to people who are working in the voting space to people in the industry. She has been focusing each episode on specific states. So then we get to really know these artists and these individuals on a very state level, which is great because every state has their own unique story when it comes to voting. And then of course, for you all, know your state's voting dates, when you can vote early, when you need to send in your mail-in ballot, because unfortunately, it's starting to get very confusing for a lot of people. I don't know if, I can't remember if Emily mentioned Pennsylvania, they're doing different dates by the county, so it is very confusing. So making sure that you're really, really informed, and HeadCount is one of our partners, and they have a great portal so you can find that information.
That is wonderful information to be aware of. Thank you so much for doing this work and for mobilizing your army. It's great to know that you're doing this, and this is, you know, an ongoing effort that you're all doing. So we're thrilled that you could take the time to share this information with us. Yes, we will happily share. If there's other materials in that form, we'll very happily get that out in front of our members.
I wanted to leave this slide here for the for YouTube and for people who are still tuning in to just read a little bit more about our festival, so you have a better idea of what to expect. Mandolin has built something very beautiful for us, as Emily had mentioned, and Leslie has been doing such a wonderful job making sure that the user experience is really up to par for festival goers in the webcasting space. So please feel free to read what we have going on. And I don't know if Leslie has anything else to add beyond that.
Yeah, I mean, as Emily mentioned early on, I voted really does bridge that gap by booking trending artists and talent from these key states. And our partner has recently, and as you can read, they've added Mandolin fan pages, which is this replacement to link in bio formats. It's very interesting. So as you register an RSVP, which by the way is extremely seamless, you'll sort of be able to get a taste of what the festival is going to look like by clicking on our link in bio. They've sort of made a multi-stage platform for us that not just serves the fans, but also serves our artists. You have ability to see artist profiles, which are new, that include donation links for the artist and merch links, so that there is an incentive for artists to want to come and participate in I Voted, not just for, you know, the sake of voter turnout, but also so they can, you know, take part in that music discovery. Our thousands of fans are very, I want to say, like, after the festival, it's great to hear not only that we did a great job, but that they were able to, you know, watch a message from Billie Eilish and also discover their next favorite artist coming up in the next artist display page, which is very interesting. So this new platform really did open opportunities for I Voted to share the message, and not only across the country, but internationally. So we had fans who reached out. I believe we had a couple from France in the data that was very interesting. A couple from London as well. And it was also an incentive for artists who were international to reach out for us. And so we not only have artists who are in the United States, but also based outside who want to take part, obviously, because it not only impacts America, but it's also a very worldwide conversation. So that I think has been very interesting to see. that artists are getting back to us, and their feedback is mostly, it's very nice to make this day about music and celebration, and flipping the conversation from it being very stressful and tumultuous, and who did you vote for and why, instead of, hey, did you make it out? Cool, let's go watch the I Voted concert together. That I really do have to praise our streaming partner Mandolin for.
That's incredible. Well, I love that it seems like they've really customized this in such an incredible way that there are unintended fantastic consequences from their efforts, and that's always wonderful to have happen. And Emily is very modest, but I can't not acknowledge her incredible work as an author, as an educator. I listen to your podcast all the time, and it's so inspiring. So if you have anybody here who hasn't checked out Emily's podcast and book on how to build a sustainable career in the music industry, it's a must read. And so I would feel remiss not mentioning that as well. So
thank you, Sharon. That all means so much coming from you.
Oh, very welcome. I just want to say thank you for everyone who attended. Anybody who's seeing this post event, you're welcome. We really appreciate all of our members and everybody who's part of our community, and we're very much engaged on building community for the music industry at large. This is a big ecosystem, and we all need one another and need to support one another, and we're very inclusive when it comes to that. So please like and subscribe all of our channels and platforms, and sign up for our newsletter. And by virtue of doing that, you will certainly get everything that I Voted is up to.
Sharon, thank you. And one last thing. This is what, I mean, we're still very grassroots, but this is what we did in 2018. If you can tell one industry colleague about our work, that helps. That's making a difference. It doesn't always have to be a donation or a heavy lift or whatever. Like I said, I have bigger visions for this for sure, but my core vision is to activate the entire music industry around voter turnout. And you can support that just by telling one colleague about I Voted Festival.
Yeah, it's one conversation at a time. And, I look forward to doing this certainly for more years in the future. And I hope you get lots of rest before November.
We're having fun. I woke up at 4 a.m. without an alarm. I'm excited.
I was like, were you swimming? Why were you up at 4 a.m.?
I was writing press releases before multiple speaking engagements today, but all good stuff.
Okay. All right. Try and get some rest.
I will.
We need you. The industry needs you, and we all need each and every one of you. So thank you again so very much. We greatly appreciate it.